How's it going, everybody? I am Jason of Jason's Realm here, and today I am here with my brief recap of every NFL game in Week 17. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So first off, we have the Rams-Ravens, which was a 20-19 Rams victory. Now, the Rams fought themselves on defense early, literally throwing punches, but they came up clutch when they needed to stop the Ravens to give themselves a chance. The offense had a slow start, including 3 Matthew Stafford turnovers, 1 fumble, 2 picks. I guess Matthew Stafford thinks he plays for a purple team because it's 6 turnovers in 2 weeks against purple teams. But either way, Matthew Stafford and the offense came up clutch when needed, including OBJ getting a clutch 4th down conversion catch and the clutch touchdown catch to give the Rams the lead and the win. Now, in terms of the Ravens, Huntley had a hot start to take the lead and really have the Ravens own the game until the final minutes. The defense held back the Rams despite all the injuries they've had, but they cracked under the pressure and they couldn't produce when needed on either side of the ball. They couldn't produce what was needed when it was needed. Now with the Raiders versus the Colts, the Raiders won that one 23-20. The Raiders played competitive enough to get the job done and to beat the hottest team in the NFL going into this week. And their hearts played out for the late John Madden, rest in peace to him, who passed away a week ago, actually to the day of this video going up. But they did show that they could win tight games against good opponents if they could just keep themselves in the game. The Colts, on the other hand, they were just flat overall on offense, but they were able to keep competitive on a game that they really should have just blown out their opponents. Jonathan Taylor clearly cannot carry the Colts every single week, and Carson Wentz did not play as well. Was it maybe because of the lack of practice, because of him being on the COVID list? That would be where I'd have to attribute those struggles to. Next up, we have the Falcons versus the Bills. This one ending in a 29-15 Bills victory. Now, the Falcons had a great start, starting out with safety as I proceed to throw something down. But either way, the Falcons started out really well with a safety, getting a 2-0 lead, and they even led 15, I think it was 15-14 at the half. It's just that they forgot that they were the Falcons, and they had to follow the Falcon way, which is to choke. And I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. The Bills, on the other hand, they had a slow start, and they looked like they might lose to the Falcons, which would have really hindered them in the AFC playoff picture, potentially losing losing the division to the Patriots. But instead, they decided to come back and win big with a 14-point victory in the end against the Falcons, which should have been more of a 20-point victory, but same difference. They got the W. That's all that shows up on the standings. Up next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington football team. This one resulting in a 20-16 victory for the Eagles. Now, the Eagles were flat early and fell way behind, and they didn't even look like contenders at all. They looked like big pretenders. But they came back to snag this victory and to clinch their playoff spot and to punch their ticket because no matter what happens this week, they have the playoffs locked up. The football team, on the other hand, they started hot early, and they looked like they might have even been able to upset the Eagles. But after the half, they just couldn't get anything going on offense, and they put up a great fight at the start, really good. And then the offense decided that, hey, we're Washington. We don't score anything, so let's just not score anything for the rest of the game. Up next, we have the Dolphins versus the Titans. This one, a huge blowout in the Titans' favor at 34-3. The Dolphins' 7-game win streak was snapped against a good opponent, the first good opponent they've played in quite some time, and they couldn't get anything going on offense at all, and the defense showed that they fall apart against real competition. Now the Titans, they got going early, started steamrolling as early as the first half, and they continued their dominance without looking back, and because of the game that happened later, they now possess the number 1 seed, or at least the number 1 seed in the AFC. Up next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New York Jets. This one resulting in a 28-24 Buccaneers victory. Now, the Buccaneers kept the game way closer than they should have been. They were looking like they were even going to lose early, and the offense and defense looked very flat, and Brady had to bail out the team with a game-winning drive. And we even got to see Antonio Brown have a Brownism and rage quit the team mid-game, as shown here.
And Antonio Brown is during the game.
Now the Jets, on the other hand, they put up a strong effort against the Buccaneers team. I almost said Patriots because of Tom Brady, but either way, the Jets, they contained the Buccaneers all game until the end, whenever they really needed to clamp down, but they could not finish the game, and they let the Bucs just snag it. Now we have a very strong game next: the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Cincinnati Bengals. This one resulting in a 34-31 Bengals victory. The Chiefs had a strong offensive performance in the first half, but the offense did just about nothing in the second half. And the biggest concerns we've had about the Chiefs defense, well, they came to fruition. I have big concerns for this defense going forward. Can they stop a high-powered offense? Because if you think about it, there's many high-powered offenses. You have the Bengals, Titans whenever they have what's his name back. The Patriots can go off. On the NFC side, you have the Packers, the Rams, the Cardinals. And those are just a couple teams I can quickly name off the top of my head that are a real threat to this Chiefs team if the defense does not step it up. Now, the Bengals had a very good offensive performance throughout, really consistent, 17 points each half. And the defense made amazing shifts at the half to really stop the Chiefs, and they are looking very hot going into the playoffs, clinching the AFC North with their win this week. Up next, we have a quick one here. We'll just get through it as quick as we can because it was a garbage game. The Jaguars versus the Patriots. Patriots blew out the Jaguars 50-10. The Jaguars couldn't get offense going at all. The defense sucked, and overall, we just saw a dysfunctional franchise against a real contender. The Patriots, strong offensive performance and great defensive performance, great performance all around. And they beat down on a dysfunctional franchise. Whoop-de-doo, y'all are going to the playoffs. Up next, we have the New York Football Giants against the Chicago Bears. The Bears won this one 29-3. The Giants couldn't get anything going on offense, and the defense tried to stop something. They didn't succeed at it very well. And it looks like the Giants might be going for another tank job, and Joe Judge seems to be in the hot seat. We'll see how that develops going forward. In terms of the Bears, they look like a legitimate contender against the Giants with a strong overall performance, but they're not going to the playoffs. They should have lost this game so they can get a better draft pick, or they wanted to get better experience for Justin Fields, so they wanted to win. Either way, they're not really doing much. They're just a meh team this year. Up next, you got the Houston Texans against the San Francisco 49ers. The Texans lost this one 23-7, and they started out strong, though. They started out with a 7-0 lead, but did nothing with it. They even had a 7-3 lead at the half, but the defense fell apart in the second half, and the offense just could not go anything after that touchdown. Valiant effort after pulling off a major upset against the Chargers, but they couldn't upset two teams in a row, and the 49ers were gifted the win as a result. Now, on the 49ers side of things, they looked like they might have legitimately been a team that is not looking good going into the playoffs. But they ended up getting going, and they went into the half 7-3, and they ended up scoring 20 more points in the second half to win. And now they are clinging on to the 6th seed at least. They have not clinched. The Saints could still take their playoff spot if they lose and the Saints win, which honestly I would kind of love to see because I do not want to face the 49ers in the playoffs. So go Rams, which I'm already cheered for the Rams, and go Falcons. Now up next, you got the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers blowing out the Broncos after being embarrassed, humiliated by the Houston Texans last week. The Chargers winning this one 34-13. The Broncos could not get the offense machine started. I guess they were out of gas or oil or something for it. But either way, they had no quarterbacks after Locke got injured, and it showed. The Broncos, they really need a real quarterback in the draft, and there are a couple good quarterbacks if they can get themselves a high enough pick. They might need to trade up for that, so we'll see. The defense could not stop anything. They couldn't even stop a Pee Wee football team. And the true colors of this team showed. They don't have a quarterback. They at least struggled on defense, and they cannot really keep it up against a real contender. Now, the Chargers dominant from the start, and they keep strong in the playoff picture going into the final week, and they are trying to get as high of a seed as they can at this point, and they have a good start as they're going to face the Raiders next week to try to clinch a playoff berth with a win. Now, either way, the Raiders-Chargers game, as long as it's not a tie, well, even if it is a tie, one of those two teams is going to the playoffs. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. This one was a slop fest from the beginning. a team with no quarterback versus a team who is in between quarterbacks and not sure what they want to do at quarterback. The Panthers got out to a hot start, but lost 18-10. The Panthers had a hot start with a 10-3 lead, but could not continue it as the defense was able to hold strong, but they couldn't stop everything the Saints had to offer, and the offense really let the team down overall. Because when you're up 10-3 and you have that lead going early in the second quarter, and you're not doing anything with it, that's kind of embarrassing. Now, the Saints had a rough start, but they made the proper adjustments that they needed to succeed. They were able to kick a bunch of field goals, score one tutty, and the defense held up strong after giving up 10 points to the dysfunctional Panthers. Now up next, you got the Detroit Lions versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks blowing out the Lions in this one, 51-29. The Lions had a rough start on offense and defense without Jared Goff, and the defense just decided they wanted to take a vacation. The offense without Jared Goff looked all right at times as they started to forge a comeback, but as soon as they got within 16 points, the Seahawks said, nope, we're going to get back on it and start scoring again. Now, the Seahawks, strong performance throughout all around, and they saved themselves at the end after almost potentially choking, but they made the proper adjustments to score and win the game. Now that we have the Arizona Cardinals versus the Dallas Cowboys. This one, a close one, another one that we streamed. This was a Cardinals victory, 25-22. The Cardinals had a strong start and jumped to an early lead, and they almost had the game in the bag with a 22-7 lead at the start of the fourth quarter. But the penalties almost killed them. So many penalties. They need to stop the penalties if they want to really be a contender. If they were going up against the Rams, if they were going up against the Packers, if they were going up against the Buccaneers, those penalties would have cost them the game. And Cliff Kingsbury's team is giving up a lot of penalties at this time of the season, so much so that I don't know if I see them as a real contender anymore, because if they don't clean up the penalty act, then they're going to be a first-round exit. Simple as that. The Cowboys, they couldn't get the ball rolling on offense until the start of the fourth quarter when it was far too late. The offensive struggles that have been known about this team were put on full display as the Cardinals put up a clinic on them for 3 quarters until the Cowboys decided they wanted to try and start to come back and outscored the Cardinals 15-3 in the fourth quarter. Almost coming back, the Cardinals needing to score a field goal to secure the win. Now up next, we got Sunday Night Football's game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. The Vikings lost this one 37-10, and they had no Kirk Cousins, and the backup quarterback, who had only had a few starts in his career, couldn't get anything done for this team. The defense couldn't contain the Packers' offense or Aaron Rodgers, and they just essentially couldn't do anything. They only scored a field goal early, like to end the first half, and then got a touchdown in garbage time. And the Packers, though, had a strong performance on both sides. The defense suffocated the quarterback, who had very few starts in his career. I don't even remember his name at this point. And the offense just kept rolling to secure the number 1 seed because the Cowboys lost. And finally, you have Monday Night Football's game between the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm recording this one just after the win, so after the Steelers win, so this is fresh in my mind. The Steelers won this one 26-14. The Browns looked very flat on offense. They took 9 sacks, and the offense just couldn't do anything until the Steelers really started putting on prevent defense, where the Browns were able to run down the field. Now, the Browns defense looked solid after the half, but the Browns couldn't stop fate. Ben had to leave Heinz Field with a win because Pittsburgh going to the Super Bowl, obviously. Now, the Steelers, they had a strong defensive performance with at least 5 swats by the defensive line, an interception to secure the game, allowing Ben to end his career in Heinz Field with the best play in football, a kneel, and 9 sacks by the defensive line. TJ Watt is currently chasing the NFL record for the most sacks in a single season with 22.5. He's only 1 sack away. So 1 sack against the Ravens, maybe Lamar Jackson. I assume Lamar Jackson because the Ravens are playing for their playoff lives. But next thing, we have the Steelers. Their offense really rallied around Ben to make plays when it counted and to make sure that Ben would go out in Heinz Field on a win. Will they do it against the Ravens? I don't know. Both teams are going to be fighting for their playoff lives. We'll have to wait for time to see. But Ben finished off his career at Heinz Field with a strong win and ties Brett Favre for the most wins at a single venue in third place. So overall, a good slate of games, some close ones we got to stream. We got to stream the Rams game and the Cardinals game and the Browns game, Steelers game, which was very close until the end. So we had the fortunate pleasure of being able to stream those tight ones, and we had a really good week in general. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow with Power Rankings, and I'm looking forward to streaming next week's games. I guess with that, don't forget to smash that like button. I also have an Instagram. You can check that out on the channel. I'm trying to post there semi-regularly. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys next time. Peace out and have a good one.